It's a worst case scenario that even experts considered unlikely, as a glacier in the Swiss mountains collapsed and destroyed the entire village of Blatten. The collapse led to tons of stone and ice crashing down into the valley. Hi Adrian, good to see you.
Hi Jan, greetings from Switzerland.
You are in the Swiss valley where the tragedy happened. What can you tell us about the situation?
Well, right now I moved away from there. I'm back in Interlaken, around about an hour and a half away. But yesterday we were in the area around, and I'll be going there soon again to see the current situation because it's not as tense as it was, let's say, a day or two before, when there was really panic that the water masses could move on and the dam could suddenly break and further villages will be destroyed. So far, it is one village. We've all seen these images of Blatten that was basically a whole village flattened, everything that people had destroyed within minutes. Super tragic event. One person is still missing. People do not expect that this person will be found. Nonetheless, despite this massive damage, a lot of people I talk to, they say, thank God that nobody got killed except one person, considering this massive event. So that also shows that the Swiss authorities were quite prepared. They evacuated Blatten before. Also, these other villages further down the valley that are under threat now, they are basically packed their stuff, the people there, so that if there's indications that the flood will break through, that they could quickly be evacuated. But as we speak, it looks like the situation is calming down and the water is just slowly sinking in the soil.
You think the situation is calming down? Yeah, because I read conflicting information. Some say, yeah, the worst is over, but some say maybe there is still some risk. Also, I read something about possible rainfalls that could make the situation worse again. But what are you hearing from the people on the ground?
And that could possibly happen from Monday, when it's possibly starting to rain again. But so far, the authorities are saying they keep on observing situation. I mean, the warnings are still on, but it looks not too bad. So on the other hand, it's of course very difficult for them to also make observations, because the particular village and the valley there, it's very hard to access. Even rescue workers haven't been there so far. So it's very difficult for them to make decisions for the future and predictions for the future.
Give us a little impression behind the scenes. I'm sure the whole valley there is under really a state of absolute emergency, and there must be also hundreds of journalists, hundreds of people that want to help. Can you give me a little bit an impression of the atmosphere there?
Yeah, indeed, a lot of journalists trying to get to the valley, trying to get to Blatten as well, but it's sealed off completely. It's very difficult to talk to people on the ground. Yesterday we went to Kandersteg, a small community not far away, basically on the other side of the mountains, where we accidentally passed by a place where the local music club organized an open-air concert, a charity concert for the members of the music community von Blatten. They used to do music together for many, many years. They have a very strong relation, and they decided, well, let's at least meet on the village square, try to collect some money, so at least our friends can have instruments again, can have their uniforms again. I mean, everything that they had is gone. Nothing is there anymore. I talked to one of the members of the music group who was actually born in Blatten, and he said, my mom's house, my father's belonging, my sister's house, everything is gone. They lost everything we had, and he says he's still struggling to comprehend, to understand what really happened, to understand that basically the whole village history is erased. That is obviously very hard for him. At the same time, he also said he's somehow hoping that they will rebuild the village again. But if that will be possible, when that will be possible, is a very big question mark. It's a lot of politicians who have been saying that they want to rebuild. But if you see the pictures, it's very hard to imagine that they'll be able to rebuild at the same place where the village used to be. But this is what they're indicating at the moment. But obviously, it's way too early to make a realistic statement there.
You are also very often in war zones. Now, this is a natural disaster, but somehow the human suffering sounds very similar. What would you say? Where's the difference between reporting about wars and violent conflicts, as we have done a lot in the past years and months, and natural disasters? Do you see any difference, or because of the human suffering, it's very similar.
Well, I mean, obviously, you have a difference in the war environment that the threat is usually not for a very short, limited time period, right? I mean, this is the situation here. Something happened. I mean, yes, there is the scenario that it can get worse, but we're talking about a very limited time frame. So the threat for people is not as long as you have it in the war zone, and it's much more predictable, even if it's a natural disaster, than in a war zone. However, of course, in terms of human suffering, it's from my experience is very similar. I mean, people suddenly lose everything they have, and they're in a total crisis scenario all of a sudden. They didn't expect that, they didn't see that coming, and that is obviously extremely hard for most people. Some manage to cope better, like the gentleman we talked to. He told me actually, like, thanks to my family and thanks to the music, I'm like not totally freaked out. I'm still trying to see something positive, but he also mentioned that others really struggle to comprehend what's going on.
Well, let's just hope that the worst is really over there in Switzerland for the moment. Thanks a lot, Adrian, for your impressions, for your thoughts on this whole situation. Of course, as always, thanks a lot to our viewers for their interest. And yeah, maybe we'll get another update from Switzerland. We'll see. Otherwise, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.
Sure, but fingers crossed that the situation will improve and it's not going to get any worse. I'm quite optimistic.
Sounds good. Bye bye.